Hey, welcome to another episode of the Not Scrum Dumb podcast. I'm your co-host, Andreanna Marshall, and that's my amazing co-host.
Grand Scrum Master Scott. Greetings, everyone.
Today, we're going to be talking about the difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager, but not in the direct terms. We're going to be using a sports analogy to explain the differences between a Scrum Master and a project manager, to make these concepts a little bit more relatable on the day-to-day and getting an understanding, especially for those familiar with sports. We're going to break this down into three parts: the coach versus the general manager, which the coach is going to be the scrum master, and the project manager, the general manager. The second part is going to be, what's the day-to-day look like? What's a scrum master doing on game day? What's a project manager doing when it comes to season planning? And then player development versus team success, what a scrum master and what a project manager are doing to help the organization and team get better. Those are the three parts. We'll kick it off with, what does it mean for a scrum master to be a coach and a project manager to be a general manager? Scott, take it away on the scrum master part.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, Andreanna. Yeah, the Scrum Master as a coach in our sports analogy. The Scrum Master act like a coach. A Scrum Master would fit the role of a coach on a sports team, focusing on improving the team's execution and performance in the game or the project. We ensure the team understand Agile and Scrum principles and make sure they practicing them effectively. Now, in terms of our focus area, we want to concentrate on the development and cohesion of the team, much like a coach would develop players' skills and ensure they work well together. We make sure that the team understand the plays. We don't make decisions on the field, but we do help the players make their own decisions. And Scrum, that sounds like self-management, right? Yeah, I'm glad y'all with us. Now, looking at the methods that a coach would use, a Scrum Master would use, if we're using our sports analogy, we're going to use things like training, not drills if we're on a football field, mentoring, coaching to encourage the team, helping them to self organize and work more effectively. We're going to remove obstacles that might hinder the team performance, similar to how a coach clears hurdles for better training conditions. Adriana.
The project manager, who in this scenario would be the general manager, they oversee the entire operation of the team. So including logistics, resources, personnel. The focus of the project manager or general manager is to manage the project scope, budget, timeline, ensuring that the project meets its defined goals. They're more concerned with the strategic alignment of the project goals, with business objectives, similar to a team manager ensuring that the team meets the season objectives. Now, the methods that a general manager or a project manager would use is utilizing the tools and techniques from project management methodologies to plan, initiate, execute, monitor, and close projects. They often act as a bridge between the team and stakeholders, very similar to the way a general manager deals with the media, sponsors, or other external entities that essentially are going to help deliver the project. All right, that's part one, the coach versus the general manager and what they each do. Now let's go into, what does it look like on a day-to-day basis? What's the difference between game day and season planning for each role? Scott, can you tell us on game day, what does a scrum master do?
Absolutely. On game day, we're going to focus on how the team plays each match, each sprint, ensuring that the team is following the rules. In this case, we're talking about the Scrum Guide. Visualize whatever sport that you like. Every sport, every game has its own set of rules. If we're talking about Scrum, we're talking about specifically the Scrum Guide. And we're adjusting our strategies based upon the immediate feedback and the game conditions. In Scrum or in Agile, we're calling that complexity. I want to use an audible if we're taking our football analogy. Audible means I'm going to change the play. I started off talking about a coach, but I think in this particular scenario, if you're new to Scrum, I think a better analogy would be, think of the referee on a sports analogy team. That during the sprint, we as the Scrum Master are making sure that everybody's playing by the rules of this game called Scrum that our team is playing. And then we're switching back and forth from a referee hat to a coaching hat, and hopefully that helps you. Andriana.
From a project manager standpoint or a general manager, they're concerned about the entire season. In project management terms, they're concerned about the project life cycle from start to finish. They plan out the matches or project phases. They arrange training camps for a project manager. It'd be kickoffs and work breakdowns sessions. and they ensure the team is on track to compete in championships or the ultimate goal. For a project manager, that would be project deliverables and milestones. So essentially, they're just coming from an entirely different perspective. They're not necessarily worried about preparing for one game or this next sprint or improving for the next game or the next sprint. They're looking holistically at several sprints ahead. They're looking at the entirety of the project and making sure that everything's aligned to achieve this. And maybe that even requires more teams. Maybe it's not just the one team that the Scrum Master is working with. Maybe it's multiple Scrum Masters. The project manager is making sure that all those things are happening. All right, we just finished game day versus season planning and the differences, like what a Scrum Master would do as a coach or a referee, and a project manager what they would do as the general manager. Let's talk a little bit about player development versus team success. I think it's one of those areas where it's the biggest difference. Scott, can you give us the Scrum Master and how they focus on player development? And then I'll go into project manager and team success after.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about like a coach who spends time developing each player's skills and ensuring the team's collective success through effective collaboration and self management. That is what we do in the Scrum Masters. We're looking at our developers, not necessarily helping them with coding, but we happen to make sure their behavior aligns with the behavior that we have in, let's say, our team working agreement, and using that as our basis of measuring what it is we're trying to accomplish. That's an idea in terms of player development.
For project manager, how they focus on team success. Like a general manager whose success is measured by the team's overall performance in the league, they focus on strategic decisions that will lead to achieving the project, which includes budget, stakeholders, and leadership management, the communication aspect, and other operational duties. They don't necessarily have to worry about coaching those individual people, but making sure outside of the team is going well. So, budget, stakeholders, decisions from leaders, and any communication, they're taking care of that aspect. All right, so, hopefully, this sports analogy helps you understand a little bit of the difference between Scrum Master versus project managers. We went over the Scrum Master as the coach and the project manager as the team manager, what that looks like in general, what that looks like on a day-to-day basis, and how that impacts the development of the team. If you'd like to learn more, or if you have questions, leave them in the comments. We do respond to them, and we also turn your questions into videos. We also have an email list that you can subscribe to for exclusives. You can also join one of our official scrum.org classes, or if you'd like some other content or some consulting, feel free. Our LinkedIns are in the description. Reach out to us. And if you made it to the end of this video, that means you have an attention span greater than a goldfish.
Be legendary, everyone, but not Scrum Dumb.